Good evening, folks. Happy Saturday. It's Freddy Vazquez. This is Basement Politics Unfiltered. Tonight, let's discuss human rights. Good evening, folks. Happy Saturday. It is January 28th, 2023. Tonight, I want to discuss the Hector Santiago lawsuit and talk a little bit about, briefly, the Memphis Five. I was joking about the stars. Good evening, folks. I'm Freddy Vazquez. Happy Saturday. There's a lot going on, with this Memphis incident. Wow. I saw some of the videos. I was up last night just kind of watching and recording some of it because I plan on coming back on with Anthony DiMaggio, former Yonkers police lieutenant, as you may know or may not know, who joined me yesterday on the podcast. And again, I want to go over with him and get a police officer's perspective. I mean, even he's looking at that like, wow, that's crazy. And I don't know if I that's like the worst case I've seen of police brutality. I mean, he was literally beaten to death, right? And, I know they have been comparing it to Rodney King, but Rodney King lived, right? That's the difference. Rodney King lived, and he also sued and got to go on with his life a bit richer, although he took a beating. But Tyree Nichols did not survive. He didn't survive. And I'll talk about that in a minute. I want to first go over Hector Santiago's lawsuit here over his civil rights. So we're just discussing civil rights today, right? Civil rights violations. Hector Santiago plans to sue. He has a new attorney, Human Rights Commissioner Hector Santiago, intent on suing city over civil rights violation. Wait a minute. Human Rights Commissioner? Hector Santiago is the Human Rights Commissioner? Where have I been? Hector Santiago intends to sue the city of Yonkers over the claim his civil rights were violated last year during a city council meeting on term limits. Santiago is a human rights commissioner for the city and also, maybe it's one of many, and also the founder of Stop and Shake, the Stop and Shake program, which aims to bring police and their communities closer together, which, it surprised me that he was involved in this incident because of Stop and Shake. The incident, the city of Yonkers proposed a change to their charter to extend the term limits on November 22nd. Spurring this change was the current mayor, Mike Spano, who was at the end of his third and final term. This change would increase the allowed terms from 3 to 4. Many in the community protested this change. During the final city council meeting, residents and council members became highly animated and emotional, to say the least, after a tense exchange between Majority Leader Tasha Diaz and a constituent. Hector Santiago was forcibly escorted by a Yonkers police officer out of the chambers. YPD has since stated that Santiago was removed for being verbally disruptive and yelling explicitives. When Santiago left the chamber with his arm in a sling and recovering from recent rotor cuff surgery, a physical altercation occurred, which resulted in Santiago being struck and thrown to the floor in the hallway preceding the council chambers. Santiago was arrested and remained in jail for almost a full day. He has since had 7 court dates related to this incident. Part of this excess has resulted from certain judges and even the Westchester District Attorney recusing themselves from this case. This latter recusal may be to avoid the appearance of any unfairness, as Santiago campaigned for Westchester County DA. And I remember I spoke about that, right? And I'll get into that in a second, for Mimi Roca. Ultimately, the Orange County DA, David Hovler, has been tasked with handling this matter, and Hovler is pursuing disorderly conduct and resisting arrest charges against Santiago vigorously in court. In contrast to the treatment Santiago has faced, the officer who struck Santiago may go uninvestigated and undisciplined. No public statement from the Westchester DA or YPD has yet been released about an arrest, charges, suspension, or even investigation of this officer for striking a citizen. The potential lawsuit, while Santiago's criminal case is still on the way, he secured separate counsel for civil litigation. Leo Glickman is representing Santiago, and he has filed notice of claim with the city of Yonkers. That all but assures that the city will be served with a civil suit soon after the finalization of the criminal case. Speaking with Glickman, he stated that the purpose of the lawsuit is for the Yonkers Police Department to reform its practices and training to ensure the chances of this happening again are reduced. Depending on the verdict in the criminal case, Santiago may sue for false arrest and malicious prosecution. And regardless of the verdict, Santiago will likely seek relief over the use of excessive force. The relief sought would include compensatory damages to cover the physical injuries and distress incurred by Santiago as a result of the assault. Furthermore, an apology from the YPD and a full investigation into the officer will be requested. And on that, Glickman concluded that the officer was caught on video committing a crime and he should have been investigated and prosecuted. Hear that? Hear that? He was caught on video committing a crime is what Hector Santiago's attorney says there. What do you folks think about that? You know, Hector Santiago, and I posted a picture of it, is a member of the Human Rights Commission here in the city of Yonkers, right? And his human rights were violated. At least that's what he and his attorney are alleging, right? And let's take a look at that. What is it? Anybody know about the human rights? Anybody know that they exist, that we have one here? Many people may not know this, right? Oversees the purpose of it anyway, oversees and reviews the appropriate implementation of the New York State human rights law, including allegations of discrimination in areas of employment, housing, they should be busy, public accommodation, credit, education, retaliation, and boycotting, blacklisting, maintains an affirmative action component with executes the mandatory submissions to various regulatory agencies, monitors the city's workforce in respect to compliance with the various equal employment opportunity statutes. This is a 3-year term, and all members are appointed by the city council. And the chairperson is Robert Williams. The vice chair is Manuel Fernandez. Janet Garcia is the secretary. Alonzo is secretary. Dominic Morelli, Charles Rumelli, Hector Santiago, Patrick Murphy. I actually heard his name actually come up not too long ago. I got to go back into my notes. Paul Meisner, Teresa Brown Smith, and Jenai Wallace. Executive director is Mark Fang, Esquire, and I hear he may actually be getting that city court appointment. Mark Fang, is he going to be appointed to the next city court judge? I was assuming, or I was told that it would be Alexandra by several sources, including Vinny Spano, but I'm hearing now from another anonymous source that it's not. They're saying, stop saying that. You don't want to discredit yourself. And listen, I can only put out the information that I have. I was hearing that from good sources, actually. So, hey, if it's different, it may be different. I also heard about Mark Fang. So this is what they do. I mean, he's a member of it, and for him to have had this happen to him is very strange, right? And so I don't know. This is a human rights thing. What do you think is going to happen with his lawsuit? I want to move on to what I really want to talk about this. Hector Santiago, and it says here that judges have recused themselves, including the Westchester County DA. Hector Santiago did campaign for Mimi Roca. I remember this, right? He actually brought me to her office in 86 Main Street. That's the building that's owned by AMS Acquisitions, right? The landlords of John Rubo over at the Trolley Barn. And he showed me the office where she had her, marketing material, her campaign literature and stuff. And they also she had a 3D printing machine in there, which she was printing the little things that they put to make the mask wearing more comfortable. And, he was very, happy to be assisting and helping in the campaign. I think he even said he was the, maybe the Yonkers, I guess, campaign, leader there. I don't know what they call that exactly. But one thing that I wonder now is, was she paying for that office? Was her campaign funding that? And I'm actually going to go back into that and look for the expenditures. did they pay for rent for the office space over at 86 Main Street, the building owned by AMS Acquisitions? And is that quid quo pro? Could there possibly be any quid quo pro there? She's currently handling the investigation into Mike Cater after Liam McLaughlin handed it over to her, and they're still waiting. What's going on with that, Mimi Roca? What's happening? I mean, that's really not that difficult of a case. I'm not sure why they've yet to come up with the conclusion. Could it be that there's primaries coming up in June and they're doing anything they can to keep Mike Cater out of these primaries? Remember, I said this. After the primaries, you will see a conclusion to that investigation, and they will have found nothing. So his lawsuit will have merit because they pretty much destroyed his political career over a witch hunt, right? And so was Mimi Roca doing the same thing? Quid quo pro, did she pay AMS for that office space that I myself saw after being brought there by Hector Santiago, who, as it states here, was working on her campaign? And many judges have also recused themselves from the Mike Cater lawsuit. Why are these judges recusing themselves? Could it be because many of them are appointed by the political machine here, the Yonkers Democratic Party and the current administration, along with Mr. Zahi Jeris? And so now, they have to recuse themselves. Conflicts of interest there that could come back to hurt their careers later on. And that's what's happening there, right? That's why so many people are recusing themselves. I mean, this Hector Santiago thing, really? They're really prosecuting this guy over disorderly conduct? What about Tasha Diaz? So are you saying that only, council members are allowed to be disruptive, to be vulgar, disrespectful, and insult people in a loud manner? I didn't hear Hector until he started getting grabbed up. But Tasha Diaz blew my mind, and as did many people. They couldn't believe it. People's mouths dropped. Yet and still, not a peep from anyone on the administration, any officials, anyone from the city saying how wrong Tasha Diaz was. Why didn't she get arrested or removed for disorderly conduct or for being loud? So they're really prosecuting this. I mean, they're spending the money. They're judges recusing themselves, and they're continuing to move forward. Now they have a judge from Orange County? Really? For this. This is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. Another thing that I thought was interesting was how they are, talking about no investigation or no discipline being levied against the officer who was involved in the incident. And I hear he's a good guy. Like, I don't want to say nothing negative. And I had an encounter with him, which was a good thing, right? He looked out for me when I was at the meeting the term meeting at the library. He was kind enough to come and understand that the situation was getting a little hostile, and he said, "Hey, when you're ready, I'll walk you to the car. Just make sure everything is good and stuff." And I appreciated that. And so, came off as a great guy, great police officer to me. Other people have said the same. So what happened there? What actually happened there? That officer is also a member of the mayoral security detail. And if you are someone that is assigned to, the security detail of Mayor Mike Spano, then they have a lot of trust in you. You're somebody that's kind of, you're more inner than outer. You know what I'm saying? And so what happened there? Why would he have reacted that way? Yes, you can see Hector Santiago kind of shoving off his elbow, but the response, why? I would love to sit and talk to the officer. I know that's never going to happen, but I would just like to understand why, and also another thing is this officer, this particular detective, is also dating Judge Karen Best. Karen Best, when she first appeared on the political scene and wanted to run for judge, the Yonkers Democratic Party completely ignored her. Right? She had to go at it alone. She was even a write-in candidate in the beginning, but eventually I think they warmed up to her and they helped her out the second time around, which she was successful. But what happened there? What's really going on there? And why are they pushing this issue? Why not just letting it go? They know Hector Santiago. That's the stop and shake guy. I mean, isn't this ironic, right? Isn't that ironic? This is, he overreacted and escalated the situation. Are you referring to Hector Santiago? Is that who you're referring to? And again, the cop is, again, seems like a great guy. So I'm almost like, don't want to say anything bad. I want to always be fair, right? I always want to be honest and, call it like it is. But because that was kind of a nice little jab there to the chin, you know what I mean? And that dude has some little muscles, not little, like big muscles actually, And so and I don't want to laugh at Hector Santiago, but that was funny when he spun him around and he was like, no, the cop overreacted and escalated the situation. Are you referring to when he grabbed him? So when he went to grab him, right, when he was first coming out with the first officer who brought him out, the bald guy, I forget his name, escapes me now. And then Officer Kilroy, is it Kilroy, something like that? He went over to kind of like talk to him, and it looked like Hector kind of pushed off him. It seemed like he was approaching him, and then the guy that was with Hector, right, or that got pulled out first, right, the individual with the hat and the gray sweatsuit, who I've actually seen a couple times recently. He was at the district meeting and also at a tenants association meeting that I went to. He was pulled out. He was talking to him. Everything looked like he was cool. He was fine. And then Hector came out with, and then just kind of took off from there. And then I saw that he went and kind of got in the middle. Like he was trying to, I don't know if he was trying to help Hector or he looked like he got in the middle between trying to, and he was between the cops and Hector, but he had his hands up. And then he was, actually allowed to go back in. Hector was not. He went to jail, I guess, as we know now. I just don't understand what happened there exactly. That's very strange. I mean, again, Hector is part of the Yonkers Human Rights Commission. Right, he's a human rights commissioner. He is also the founding member and individual that founded Stop and Shake, which is supposed to help bridge, the gap between the community and police officers. Create this, more, this unity between the two groups, right? And so, what happened there? I mean, I would think that wouldn't happen. He's the expert on this, right? He would know how to, engage officers in that manner. And why not just say, okay, officer, let me step outside and speak to them? How did it get there? I wish I asked Hector Santiago to come on the show. I doubt I'll get anyone from the city. Maybe someone can send me an anonymous email to let me know exactly what's going on there, because that turned into a real, ish show between Tasha Diaz and what happened outside. I mean, I don't know. Were we supposed to be distracted from something that happened afterwards? Something with the developers and the zoning and the meeting that took place once everything died down and most people went home? I don't know. I don't know. I think it looked like the guy in the sweatsuit just went to say something to Hector, and the detective left him and grabbed Hector's arm. Hector pushed away, and the detective punched Hector. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, and I agree with that. I don't see. He did. I get it. I get he kind of, pushed off. He did, but I don't know if the jab, because that jab was, you know what I mean? That was kind of, the comeback was a little, a lot more, you know what I'm saying? But I get it. I don't know. I'm not a cop. I don't want to second guess. I don't know. Maybe Hector could come on the show. Let me know what was, said to each other, right? We don't have any audio, so we don't know if there were words that were exchanged, or maybe Hector had said something to him, after he pushed off that he didn't like, I don't know. Who knows, right? Now, what if we hear audio? Let's just say, I'm not saying this happened. But what if we heard the audio and Hector said the N-word to him? Like, get off me, you N. And then what would you guys think then? How would that change it for you in your mind? I'm just saying. I'm not saying he did that. I'm just saying. How would that? I'm just wondering. Just curious. Because you don't know. We don't know, right? There's no audio. We don't know, right? It's no audio. Maybe he could have said something about his mama. Right, we don't know. So I don't know. So if Hector would like to come on, maybe comment, what was exchanged. We don't have any audio. I just don't know. But I see that, now he's in the spotlight, this officer, and he's always pretty remained cool. I hear from everyone, he's a great guy, great cop. Everyone likes him. Everyone. Doesn't matter if you're for the Spanos or you're against the Spanos. People like him. I think he seems like a good guy to me, So I don't know. First Amendment. You're right. First Amendment. No, you're right. You're absolutely right. But still, sometimes, and I've learned to let whatever people have texted me and all that, whatever, you know what I'm saying? But it does, it can, can kind of get you upset though, and especially when you deal with it, as an officer. And I had I know someone who was a police officer in the city, and Hispanic woman. And she said, many people don't understand what we deal with day in, day out. Right. And not trying to justify or, make any excuses, but over time, it comes like, it's just, this, when you go there and people are arguing, and then they say, then they'll be back together again. So then we get called 2 weeks later, and then they're fighting again. But then we're like, yo, you got to just leave the guy, right? Because they get a lot of domestic stuff, and it's just like dealing with grown adults who are just bickering all the time and stuff. So it's just a lot that they deal with. Their lives are in danger. So, we don't know sometimes where their head's at. Maybe they should do like a psych eval for officers every so often, right? Just to assure that, the job has not gotten to them, psychologically. And it's okay if it does. I mean, I would imagine some of the things that police officers see and go through on the job, right? So, we have to think about that, right? And speaking of police officers, I was watching the video from the Memphis, I call the Memphis 5. I don't understand that either. Maybe just because I wouldn't do any of it. I don't get it, and if you didn't see the video, it is graphic. I'm not going to really show it. Again, I'm going to go over this with on a podcast, hopefully soon, with Anthony DiMaggio to get a police officer's perspective. But this is bad. I mean, they literally just beat the guy. And what's different about this, the cops are 5 black police officers, right? We're so used to hearing a white officer, killing or beating a black unarmed suspect or man, whatever. But we don't see usually this. 5 black police officers getting arrested for the death of a man that they were, I don't know if they were trying to arrest him or they were just beating him up. I can't tell the difference. I can't tell. That looked like a gang assault, right? That looked like gang members jumping some dude that was from the opposite gang. I can't imagine these big dudes, and you see how big they are in the videos, would have trouble getting his hands behind his back. And I get it. I've never been a cop, but I've done crisis intervention. We've had to restrain, students who were big. I mean, high school students, right? And it literally would take, several adult men, because, people, especially if you don't want to hurt them, it's even more difficult. You don't want to hurt people, and especially with the students. So you have to do it in a way. So you're limited. But, these guys, I mean, they didn't seem to have any problems hurting this man. I mean, at one point you see one cop running towards him who got there after he was already down and just punts his face. Like he tried to punt his face, just kicked him. And I didn't understand what that was about. It's just crazy. The 4 of the 5 Memphis police officers charged with murder were able to make bail or bonded. They were killing of 29-year-old Tyree Nichols was the victim's name. They all, but one of them made bond. 4 of them had $250,000 bond, while one had a $350,000 bond. He has not been able to make, and he remains in jail currently. But that's crazy. These are the individuals here. And, Memphis, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Memphis. Been to a lot of places, in the South and in the Midwest. And Memphis is currently is very poor city. Certain parts of Memphis are very, very, very tough. The crime is very high. People carry guns there, right? It's easier access to guns. I mean, you can see a guy literally, at a tire shop changing a tire, the owner of a tire shop changing someone's tire with a gun in a holster as he does it. And so I'm just trying to give you some idea or perspective of, how dangerous it is there. I would definitely say it's a lot more dangerous than Yonkers. It could quite possibly be at this point more dangerous than New York City. It's bad there. And it's very poor, it's very impoverished. So people are very desperate out there. Very desperate. And so, again, going back to the officer that I know who's retired, these guys probably got into this rhythm of treating everyone the same, being so used to dealing with, having to chase individuals and suspects and fight with them. And that's not an excuse. But I'm just trying to understand, why they would do this. And some people have said to me, Freddie, what? I mean, this is a black guy that they did this to, and they're black. And that didn't really surprise me because I've said this many times already. Doesn't matter the color. I've seen white cops beat white people. I've seen black cops beat black people. And in my experiences, the worst cops have been Hispanic cops. I don't know why. They've been the most disrespectful to me. White cops have been the best. Black cops, have been good to me also. Right? But Hispanic cops, I don't know. What's the issue there? I don't know what it is. In fact, I was pulled over very recently, and the officer, misunderstood what I was doing, I think. And I did, go on the opposite lane. But the reason was because I was trying to avoid being hit as some guy pulled out of a parking lot, just jumped out. And the only option for me was to kind of go into the other lane to avoid hitting him. But I couldn't get back over immediately because there was another car in front of him. So, it wasn't just because I wanted to do that. So, but he was very respectful. And I apologized to him and I was respectful. And I have respect for these guys, the officers, they have a tough job. They have a tough job. With that being said, what happened, that night where these officers were beating that guy is just unacceptable and it's unbelievable. The former officers, who are all black, each face charges of second-degree murder, aggravated assault, aggravated kidnapping, official misconduct, and official oppression. Black cops, black guys oppressing another black man. At least two of the officers, including Martin and Mills, are expected to plead not guilty, according to their lawyers. No one out there that night intended for Tyree Nichols to die, Martin's lawyer, William Massey, says. Shelby County District Attorney Steve Mulroy said during the news conference on Thursday that the officers are all responsible for Nichols' death. So the district attorney is already saying they're responsible. They're, obviously, you have to, right? They don't want, riots and people protesting. It's almost like now, mayors, at least the smart ones, consider that, right? And they're also at the mercy of, the groups like Antifa and others coming out and doing damage. Not all. Many people go out there to protest peacefully, but then that attracts a segment, that's just an element that's just not wanted and creates problems, right? And so they were very concerned with that. And so they were asking that the people, please, just wait it out. They understood that people want to protest and rally. That's fine. But just to keep it, peaceful, do not destroy property, right? This is not just a professional failing. This is a failing of basic humanity toward another individual, Davis said Wednesday, saying the 5 officers and others who were involved in his death failed our community and they failed the Nichols family. That is beyond regrettable. I expect our citizens to exercise their First Amendment right to protest, to demand action and results. But she continued, we need to ensure our community is safe in this process. She added that this is not a reflection of the good work that many Memphis police officers do every day. What comes next is our defining moment. What will we do next can be that reflection of our character. So the family is represented by civil rights attorney Ben Crump, and he's like to make himself known and stuff. So I don't know what happened there. And again, with Hector Santiago, the same thing. What happened there between the police officers and that individual Tyree Nichols that night in Memphis, and what happened between officers here in the city of Yonkers and Hector Santiago, the stop and shake guy, the guy that walked all the way up to Albany in order to bring awareness to mental health. What happened? What happened? I feel like there was a setup that night. I feel like there was some kind of setup, some kind of force at work that kind of, created that mess that night. I don't know. Something strange about that whole thing. I mean, Hector Santiago, and some people said that he had shouted, be quiet and vote, or shut up and vote to Tasha as she was screaming to constituents. But even if he said that, right? I mean, that was being said the other night at the meeting at the Will Library. People were shouting things about Spano and, the corruption and all that. That didn't trigger police officers to rush over to anyone and grab them to pull them out. In fact, there was only one uniformed police officer there. That's right. There was only one uniformed police officer at the Will Library. Unlike that night where Hector Santiago was pulled out, where there was a squad of plainclothes officers wearing pullovers with little logos that really, could be mistaken for anything. And there were individuals there that really just were in regular clothes with nothing that signified they were tied to the city or police, but were still involved. So that was strange to me. Regarding Hector, implicit in the commencement of the physical aggression is the intention to continue being aggressive. Put more simply, when somebody pushes a cop or attempts to push a cop, that person is signaling his intent to fight that cop. That is how cops will always read it. It is not then unreasonable for that cop to respond with a single closed fist strike to begin trying to subdue the initial aggressor. Yeah, sure. You took it right out the book, right? Right out the book. Technically, you are maybe right. I can't say I don't know. Technically, yes. Now in the real world where we have to exercise, some, we have to, kind of think about things, right? We can't just, did that really warrant, being punched with a closed fist? A guy who's already in a sling, a guy that they're familiar with to begin with, right? Why did he even get to that point where he's being pulled out and he's having to push off? Why not just grab his one arm and put it behind his back and put him against the wall? Do you always subdue a quote unquote suspect? I'm just going to say that because right at that point he became a suspect, right? If he does that to an officer as, really aggressive, where you got to, punch him, I'm saying? Because he kind of didn't really do much with that push off, right? It wasn't a whole lot of, you know what I mean? And he kind of was about to keep walking until he got, till he squared up and punched him in the chin. And come on, Hector. I mean, I'm just saying. So, I mean, do you exercise kind of, your judgment, your own judgment, even though, yes, you have what you said, right? That's, we can say that to be true, right? So, right, technically, if he becomes aggressive or he puts his hand on a police officer, he becomes an aggressor, and they can read that as an intent to want to fight. But they can also read it as someone being a bit frustrating. Maybe he shouldn't have done that, right? But I'm not going to react with a punch that could knock him out and kill him, because that's happened before, right? In Florida, they would call it a one-punch homicide. All it takes is one punch. You could punch someone, kill them just by punching them, or they can fall to the ground and hit their head and die. So you have to exercise, good judgment, right? Just like with these police officers in Memphis. And I'm not comparing it. I'm just saying that they didn't exercise good judgment, right? Obviously, they went overboard to the extreme. To the extreme. So, why not say, okay, I'm not going to react this way. So if someone reacts that way or something like that, because if that's the case, man, and what about regular people, right? What about citizens like me that I'm not a police officer? Somebody kind of does that to me, and then boom. Would I be justified? Would I be, or could I go to jail for assault? Because the guy kind of just really, because people have kind of come put their hands close to me, right? So, I'm just wondering what, how does that work for people who are not police officers, right? And stuff like that. So I don't know. I just think that, and I'm not against the officer. Again, he's, everybody said good things about him. Not one person that has mentioned him has said anything bad about the officer. Not one. Not one. So I'm wondering what happened. Like what, because his demeanor doesn't seem that, right? Even if he kind of pushed off a little bit, demeanor is the type that would might have been like, yo, you all right, man? You got a problem? Yo, you're gonna do that? I could take you to jail, right? Because they know him. The mayor knows Hector Santiago, Vinny Spano. Who doesn't know Hector Santiago that was in that room? At least everyone that's somebody to, that can do something, right, knows him. So, I don't get that, That's just what I don't understand. And so, I don't know. I just maybe somebody could give me some better insight or give me a piece that we don't know, and we can kind of put that together. But that's another lawsuit for the city of Yonkers as a result of this current administration. Who's going to pay for that ultimately? The taxpayers. So, I mean, again, this is, another reason why we need to change the way things are in government. I mean, we have to vote the individuals that are up for reelection out. We have an opportunity here to move in a different direction. And so we have to, make sure that that's what we do come June and general elections, that we continue to vote to move in a different direction. Because, we are heading in a bad place. I really quick before I get off 30, the fire on Palisade. So I was over there, right? And someone said, there was an explosion just before the fire happened. And now I've heard that from a couple people. Now, I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm just putting it out there. I'm wondering if anyone else, maybe someone who might watch or is watching, heard the same thing. And they said something could have, been connected to Con Edison, right? Con Edison was doing work there on the street, and they were doing work, after, I believe. And so could there be something, and I thought of the Mulberry fire, 21 Mulberry, that happened maybe a week ago, where two people died, a mother and a son died in that fire. I noticed that Con Edison had been doing work there before the fire, that night after they put the fire out, and then days after the fire. Both fires took place in areas right or next to where they are doing or about to do developments. And every time they get ready to do a development, they have Con Edison come in and they'll cut up the street and start to do gas line work and all that stuff. So is there something maybe we should be looking into and making sure that Con Edison is not accidentally, I'm just saying, causing explosions? It wouldn't be the first time. It's not unusual. It's happened many times before. I don't know if you guys remember that townhome that exploded. I believe maybe it was in Harlem. I'm not sure. No, actually, that was due to a movie set they were doing there. But they've been, gas explosions. And the business, one of the businesses in that building was a restaurant. Right, so they had gas lines for the stoves or whatever other cooking things, and I'm just want to put it out there because a couple people have said that now. Someone even said that the firemen were even saying that, thinking that was the cause, some explosion. And the way that it, burned, the fire department is not too far from it. The new one that they built on School Street is really like, maybe 100 yards away. But that thing burned pretty hot. And also I hear that the new sprinkler or the fire suppression system that was installed did not work. It did not activate. It didn't, let off whatever it's supposed to let off, nor did it notify the fire department. And so I was wondering, either whoever installed it didn't know what they were doing, or it was an explosion that just completely knocked out the system so quickly, and it, damaged it so badly that it couldn't even do anything. It just failed right away. And so just by the look of how badly it burned, how much damage, it's something, definitely burned hot there. Something maybe happened. I don't know. I just want to put that out there. I think we should be aware. If it's, I'd rather, tell me, let me know if there's any possibility, because, people can die, right? This is dangerous stuff. So we should maybe look into that. And so I'll let you know as I get more information into what was the cause of that fire, if they're able to determine it at all. I will let you know. But there is some stuff going on there because, like I mentioned earlier today, fire investigators, arson from the county were there. And also, just the way certain individuals that are connected to that building, or, kind of officials that were around there, not officials, say like emergency service, first responders and all that around there, they were like, kind of something going on there. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'll let you know. But this infrastructure we have here is very old. It needs to be all redone, the sewage lines and all that. And we're just adding more strain to our infrastructure that really needs a major overhaul. Many of these buildings here in the city of Yonkers are over 100 years old. Many of our school buildings are over 100 years old. I think the oldest one is 132 years old. And so we're adding more, stress to that infrastructure in many ways without, fully doing an overhaul and, making sure that it can handle that without causing problems, along the way and even into the future. You know, I just wonder about that, right? Will it be able to handle these massive luxury rentals that are going up, that have gone up, all the people using water and the sewage and, gas and everything else? And are we, headed for a big disaster? I don't know. I'm Freddy Vazquez, Basement Politics Unfiltered. Thank you for watching. All Yonkers residents must come out and vote in November. Yeah, that's right. Folks, we must head in a different direction. So that means that we have to vote the individuals that are there now out. I know a lot of people are upset with the district maps, the new district maps. A lot of people are very upset about the fourth term. And I think that combined is really, motivating people and energizing people to speak out and come out and vote them out. That's what we need to do. It's no disrespect to anyone. It's not personal. It's just, y- I have a different, idea of what our government should look like. Right. And maybe, I've been fortunate to travel different places and see what it looks like elsewhere. But Yonkers is just unique. It's a very unique, you know, we need an overhaul of our government, right? I've never seen it like anything like that. I mean, Tasha Diaz, talking about buttered chicken, in front of City Hall at a podium, and then yelling at constituents, calling them beggars at a live meeting for something so important as a term limit extension. And then we have that incident with Hector Santiago, another minority on minority incident there too, because there's a black cop and a Hispanic man. So I just feel like our government should be, I don't know how to put it without, I don't want to be they just need to be more qualified, more capable, more, sophisticated, more intelligent, right? Um, no, again, no disrespect, just saying, I mean, the way they carry themselves and conduct themselves in some of these meetings is truly unbelievable and is not becoming of politicians, elected officials, council members, whatever your position may be. And some of the things that these individuals do and have been involved in, what they do to stay in their, seats and their positions is unbelievable. And I can't believe that this is actually happening. It's really surreal. It's like, really? This is really what happens? This is crazy. This is crazy. And so we need to, move in a different directions. I'm calling all people from Yonkers, all people, who are tired of it. Many people are, whether you work for the city, you don't work for the city. People are tired. People have had enough. They're fed up and they want change. And unfortunately, right now, I don't know how much confidence people have in that change, but I'm hoping, that I and others can help really, change that attitude. And some people, I think people are like, I don't know if it's gonna, listen, folks, I feel confident that we are going to create change together, whether you're Republican or Democrat, doesn't matter. We want change. We want to head in a different direction. Then we must vote these individuals out and we must do it together. So have faith. Let's go out like we're going to do it. Don't think anything else, but it's going to happen. I'm Freddy Vazquez, Basement Politics. Thank you, folks. I appreciate it. As always, I love you guys. I love Yonkers. I love this podcast. And I love the fact that I'm able to have this platform to communicate with individuals here in the city of Yonkers, to inform them on, obviously politics, but other things, as well. And if you have any questions, again, email me at politicwithfred@gmail.com. And if you're, looking for work and you think that you might do well in sales, reach out to me. I'm looking for a couple more sales guys. Shout out to my, one of the guys today did his thing. So, yeah, let me know, if you're looking for work. And and you want to bust your butt because that's how you succeed. You got to work hard. Nothing is handed to you. Nothing comes easy. At least that's my experience, and I would imagine that's the experience for many people. So, was the punch to Hector necessary? Well, hindsight is 2020, so it's easy to say probably not. But these things are usually not so clear and obvious when happening in real time. Hector is fine, and Kilgore is it Kilgore? Will not be fired or prosecuted. I'm sure he won't, nor should he be. And I didn't say he should. I'm just saying what happened. I just don't understand what happened to, for it to get to that point. I mean, it's not like, it's just some guy that just some, thug in the street that, no one knows, right? And it's kind of presenting a real danger. I mean, it's Hector Santiago, the stop and shake guy, one of the human rights commissioner, who everyone knows and has worked on many of their campaigns and who has an arm in a sling, right? That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. What happened in Memphis? I'm comparing in the sense of human rights, right? Whether, they beat the guy like they did in Memphis and killed him, or, what happened in Hector's situation, that still could be the potential for one's human rights to be violated, right? It may not be as extreme as Memphis, but there's still the potential for Hector's human rights to have been violated. So I'm not a judge. I'm not going to decide whether they were or not. I'm just saying that that's what he's going to be filing a lawsuit for, according to the Yonkers Ledger, which, by the way, is a new thing. I think I have my idea of who it is just by the way they're writing. But shout out to you. I like it. I like what they're trying to do there. Pretty cool. It's all about informing the people. That's what's important. So yeah, we'll talk about it tomorrow. Definitely, let's do that. But no. So and again, this is not an anti police, anti the officer Russell, I believe Kilgore. I thought it was something else. But it's not against him. It's not anti him. It's just trying to understand what went wrong so we can move forward. And truly not, have this happen again, because this isn't like, like you said, these Yonkers has changed a lot. The police department has really gotten a lot better. It's not the 90s, right? But, we still have room for improvement, as everyone does in life. That's what it is. I know you're not comparing this, and I'm just stating the obvious. No, yeah. All right, well, we'll talk about it. Anyway, folks, I'm Freddy Vazquez, Basement Politics. Thank you, folks. Make sure we come out, we speak out. Email me, Politics with Fred. Send me more information. Thank you to the people who have been recently emailing me, and I appreciate that. Thank you for the tips from certain individuals who are kind of guiding me and pointing me in a certain direction. I'm like doing some investigations right now. Too bad I really can't get paid for this, man. I do enjoy it. I should have been a detective, Anthony, but Yonkers wouldn't hire me. I'm Freddy Vazquez. Thank you, folks. Have a beautiful and blessed evening and rest of the week. And may see you tomorrow. Peace out. Freddy Vazquez, Politics Unfiltered. Make sure you share, let people know, whisper it in their ear if you don't want people knowing that you are watching. This is the guilty pleasure. But people are watching because, shout out to all the people that say hello to me when I'm out there. Yo. That's kind of interesting. Thank you. And to police officers, shout out to you as well. Be safe out there. I have a lot of respect for you. Thank you for everything you guys do. And I say that, I genuinely mean that, and I was talking to a police officer today. I won't say too much of that, but I just want to say thank you for everything you guys do. I appreciate that. As always, I never mean any disrespect or anything. I do like to get my point across as well, but it's never about disrespect, though. It's about conversation. But thank you guys. I appreciate everything you do. The firemen as well. Thank you for the work you guys did over there in Palisade. It's a dangerous job. It is. Firemen are a dangerous job. So thank you. And guys, be safe, because for some reason my Nostradamus senses are tingling, and I would imagine we are going to be seeing more fires in Yonkers. Just a hunch. My Nostradamus senses.
Freddy wins. Fatality.
You're watching Basement Politics with my dad, Freddy Vazquez.
You're watching Basement Politics with my dad, Freddy Vazquez.
Thank you for watching Basement Politics with my husband, Freddy Vazquez.
Freddy wins.